But just think about this for a minute. If you think about Europe, why isn't there a uniform organization in Europe supported by the various interests in the music business that do just that? There isn't. You have the Spanish Society, you have the French Society, you have the German Society, the English Society, you have music publishers over here. They're not all together. They're not as powerful as Microsoft or Google. But they're not all together. But I think the most effective voice for the creative community, for the content owners, as they like to say in Brussels, which is not a term I favor, but for those who create, own, exploit, commercialize content, is the people who create it themselves. If I walk into Congress and start talking to people, it's not that interesting. If Stevie Wonder walks into Congress and starts talking to people, it's way more interesting. And major artists, major songwriters, major directors, major actors, major writers, book writers, they are our strongest asset, and they're free, except maybe for the cost of a plane ride. We saw that here in some of the legislative work that was being done. To me, that's the one thing that the creative community has that no one else has. A recording artist to say, look, I do this for a living. That's what I do. You should have no compunction about paying for what I do for a living, or I can't do it, and other generations can't do it. And the idea of giving copyrighted works for free into what's called the Creative Commons is crazy. You buy a car, do you expect to get it for free? You buy a book, do you expect to get it for free? I play my music. I maybe affect your life. That's what I do for a living. How much do the fans pay to get a ticket to the most important football game in Madrid? How much should they pay? I think they should all pay $12.
They are paying $100.
At least. Right. How much are they paying for the jersey with the guy's name on it? How much for the shorts? How much for the shoes? How much for the ball with the guy's name on it? Why do they pay for that? I think they should give it away for free. Education, custom, use. Again, I say, the entertainment business did it to itself. If it had found ways to license music in the beginning, nobody would be asking the question. Now everybody's asking the question. In the not obvious ways, here's what happened as I see it, both in America and outside America, actually throughout the world. What happened was that in a very prestigious institution, and then in another, a group was funded that purpose was to develop, if you will, an intellectual understanding and advocate the internet. These were very prestigious institutions. These were law professors. These law professors taught now 2 generations of law students who are now judges, who are now legislators, who are all of those things. It became politically incorrect in intellectual academic circles to be a supporter of content. Again, that is something that the entertainment industry, if you will, let happen. Because all of those institutions, those 2 institutions, were supported extensively by, shall we say, Silicon Valley and those interests. We just stood around and watched. I think, again, it's very difficult because the whole focus of the European Commission is about economic growth and prosperity. Mind you, it's not doing so well, but that is the focus. The general decision there was that the internet is a driver of growth. Okay, they have to support the internet. We, the content owners or the content creators, are a problem for the internet. We get in their way. We have copyright. Copyright is a monopoly. The whole language changed at the Commission. Somewhere around the beginning of the century, actually, we went from copyright proprietors, songwriters, record companies to stakeholders. That doesn't sound very attractive. So the whole focus changed. But I do think we have a tool at our convenience that has to be mobilized. Maybe that's the place where the entertainment industry should start, with its own stars and its own writers and its own. They do some, but not enough. And they don't know how. I've talked to so many recording artists, songwriters, and I explained to them the problem, and they said, fine, where do I go? Show me what to do. There shouldn't be one or two. There should be hundreds, thousands of people. We should be flooding the Commission and internal markets and the various legislatures throughout Europe. Hello? We can do it with people. The opposition does it with dollars, so we can do it with people. Then we have to attack the intellectual base, or at the same time. For us, it's copyright. And we were very late to protecting recordings. We didn't have a federal copyright statute till 1972, and then it was for very limited purposes and didn't become widely protective of recordings until 1978. By then, the Rome Convention was all old news in Europe. So, however, we now do have it. American artists, and what's very interesting and genuinely unknown, seems to me, outside the United States and in Europe, is that European artists and songwriters have exactly the same rights in the United States as American recording artists and songwriters to terminate the contracts that they are operating under, at least for the United States. That is very, very big. And only the new directive that's come into force at the end of last year has got rights anything like that, and they're not as extensive. So somehow or other, with our extended term of copyright and our rights of termination of transfers, we have become the leader in the intellectual property protection field, and who would have thought that was possible? One other thing is that we had in the United States, prior to 1978, various requirements of what was necessary in order to properly publish a work. You had to file it in the Copyright Office, you had that proper copyright notice, et cetera, et cetera. If you didn't, and you published without that, it went into the public domain. Now, because of legislation in the United States, that is forgiven. If you had a work that went into the public domain for those reasons, and you are a non-US origin work, that work can be restored to copyright, not if it's an American work. Not only that, but the US Congress has extended copyright protection to recordings created prior to 1972, which is the first date that American recordings are protected, but only for foreign recordings. So we're a great place to live for foreign works. Come visit.